Welcome and thank you for standing by. I would like to inform all participants that your lines have been placed on a listen-only mode until the question and answer session of today's call. Today's call is being recorded. If anyone has any objections, you may disconnect at this time. I would now like to turn the call over to Faith Mackey. Thank you. You may begin.
Good afternoon, everyone, and thanks so much for joining us. I'm Faith Mackey with NASA's Office of Communications, and we'd like to thank you for joining this call to provide an update on the future of NASA's Artemis missions. In addition to NASA Administrator Bill Nelson, NASA participants today will include NASA Associate Administrator Jim Free, Kathy Kerner, our Associate Administrator for the Exploration Systems Development Mission Directorate at NASA, and Amit Shastria, our Deputy Associate Administrator for the Moon to Mars program in NASA's Exploration Systems Development Mission Directorate. After brief opening comments from each of our speakers, we will gladly take your questions. The question and answer portion of today's call will include representatives from our industry partners and the European Space Agency. A full list of our partners on the line is available on our NASA Artemis blog at blogs.nasa.gov/Artemis. You can enter *1 on your phone to be entered in the question queue at any time, and the operator will open your mic when we're ready for your question, then close it afterwards. We ask that you please stick to one question and identify to whom your question is directed, as we won't have time to give each industry partner time to provide a specific update. We also ask that you focus your questions specifically to today's updates surrounding our future Artemis missions. Shortly after we conclude, you can listen to a replay of this teleconference online. And now I'll open the floor to Administrator Bill Nelson.
Hey, everybody. It was a little over a year ago that all of us watched Artemis 1 as a test flight. And it was so successful that additional tests were added in the course. It went further than any human-rated spacecraft, and it has that iconic picture that we've all seen where it's taking a selfie photograph of itself, and in the background, 40,000 miles away, is the moon, and further in the background, 270 miles away, is our planet. Many of the complex missions that will return astronauts to the moon and eventually to Mars all came out of what was this first test flight. And so we've named the Artemis 2 crew, and they are busy training for their mission around the moon that will test Orion systems to support human life in deep space. And again, we go back to the moon in a different way. We go back to the moon this time to a different part of the moon. We also go back to the moon with commercial partners and with international partners. And by the way, we are down here at Houston, and I visited with the crew several times yesterday. They were telling me that they were invited to the Oval Office. They were given 15 minutes to visit with the president, and they ended up visiting with him for an hour and a half. And I think it's illustrative of what's happening. I saw, for example, as we took the crew last night to the national championship game, and during one of the timeouts they were introduced, the place went nuts. So everybody is really excited. We're in a golden era of exploration. And this time, we are going back to the moon in order to be able to learn, to live, to create, and to invent in order that eventually we can go to Mars. And the science is going to help us unlock the secrets of the formation of our solar system, including the secrets of our own planet. we're going to, in the process, back to the moon, we're going to develop new technologies. We're going to develop new propulsion to go to Mars. So how we go is just as important as what we do. And so this is, to put it in the president's terms, this is a big deal. We've announced a new partnership with the UAE for Gateway, and that's a huge moment for the future of space exploration. And through CLIPS and crewed Artemis missions, we are showing the strength of the commercial partnerships and American innovation. We are doing something incredibly different. In the process of all this, as we remind everybody at every turn, safety is our top priority. And to give Artemis teams more time to work through the challenges with first-time developments, operations, and integration, we're going to give more time on Artemis 2 and 3. So what I want to tell you is we are adjusting our schedule to target Artemis 2 for September of 2025 and September of 2026 for Artemis 3, which will send humans for the first time to the lunar South Pole. Artemis 4 remains on track for September 2028. And though challenges are clearly ahead, our teams are making incredible progress, and you're going to hear about that shortly. Jim Free has done an extraordinary job leading NASA's Exploration Systems Development Mission Directorate over the past 2.5 years and standing up the Moon to Mars Program Office. Jim, as you know, is our new Associate Administrator, having replaced Bob Cabana, who had promised us a year before he retired, and we got almost 3 years out of Bob, and he is now having his retirement ceremony this weekend. And so Jim is going to hand the reins over to Kathy Kerner. And she and our program manager, Amit, they continue to make good progress. Think back to over 60 years ago when President Kennedy went about 20 miles from where we are now to Rice Stadium, and he made that famous speech, "We choose to go to the moon and do other things not because it's easy, but because it's hard." And Artemis represents what we can accomplish as a country, as a global coalition, and what we can accomplish when we set our sights on what is hard and what has never been done before. So, Jim, over to you.
Thank you very much, sir. These early Artemis missions are what we refer to in our Moon to Mars architecture as our human lunar return segment. We're demonstrating the foundational systems, things like Orion and SLS, that we need to support the human missions on the surface and in lunar orbit. And as the administrator referenced, these programs reflect our different approach we are taking to extend human presence to the Moon and Mars than what we did previously in Apollo. The Moon may not be different, but our knowledge of the Moon and advancements in technology, industry capabilities have changed our approach to exploration, which you can see reflected in all of these programs. I'm going to let Amit talk more about the progress and challenges with the schedule leading up to Artemis 2 and 3, but I want to emphasize that safety is our #1 priority. You've heard the administrator say multiple times. And as we prepare to send our friends and colleagues on this mission, we're committed to launching as safely as possible, and we will launch when we're ready. We learned a great deal during Artemis 1 and continue to learn today through the production of Artemis 2, 3, 4, and all the hardware we have as well. And we plan to put those lessons back into our future missions. And that's what flight tests are all about. As you're reading about Artemis 1, as we'll talk about Artemis 2 and future missions, these are flight tests. Developing, testing, learning, and improving our knowledge of what we're doing, ensuring that when we do fly, we'll be successful. The testing Moon Mars Program Office that Amit leads has enabled us to improve our integrated approach across all programs, and a great deal of credit goes to Amit and his team for that work. You heard the administrator talk about our crew, they are incredible, and they've been busy learning about the systems and subsystems they'll be flying. They know their astronauts across the crew office and continue to monitor the design, production, and assembly of all our hardware, getting evaluated from an operator perspective. The Artemis 2 crew will be the first people to set 2 nights on the far side of the Moon in more than a second, and I know the pictures and recordings that they'll bring back. They capture those moments, but also inform our understanding of the Moon. The crew is a constant reminder for us how important it is to remain focused on the work we need to do to ensure a safe return. This is a team effort, an international effort that involves our government, our international partners, our industrial partners, collaborating to achieve new milestones in human exploration, things that have never been accomplished before, and that requires us all working together. That's why we have our partners on the line with us today. We are facing challenges, both technical and just dealing with going back to the Moon, but our team is solving them. And let me remind you that what we're talking about with these early Artemis missions includes the initial fuel landing system capability, the crew demonstration of the Starship Uniter, the initial gateway capability, which includes the integrated power propulsion element, along with gravitation and logistics output, those that we call HALO. And we're powerful Block 1D configuration for SLS to launch through the Moon, and Orion along with cargo in a single launch. And for Artemis 3, we must be realistic. There's a lot. We're looking at our Starship progress, the need for ground transfer, the need for numerous landings. We're looking at our spacesuits that we're acquiring in different manner that we've done before, and developing new spacesuits as well. Soon we'll add unpressurized over from a service perspective too. All of those alone are incredibly large challenges and really big deal. And I know that Kathy, Amit, our program managers, will continue to do everything in their power to work closely with our partners, keep all these on track. So we all part of our team focus on performing as efficiently as possible and to the highest standards. And as I always said, we'll continue to say we'll launch when we're ready. So we kind of share some more challenges that we face and how we're tackling them now.
I'd like to go through all of our questions. First, I want to say thanks to all of our stakeholders and all of our district partners and distributed the promotion of the Moon Office and all of those really on team. I can see that responsibility go forward. We're all together. We are really focused on the missions. As Jim said, very clearly, we're already safety. We're